Hello, my name is Matt, welcome back to the channel, and some of you may know that this is a 1964 Lincoln Continental. What you don't know is that you're actually looking at a movie star. I know. But before we get into the video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course turn on the bell notification icon to ensure that you are alerted of any new uploads. Let's go for it.
Quite a funky feeling rising like that.
Yeah, pretty cool. Actually, get down's better, I'm tough to say.
Yeah, aye, that drop.
That's just me.
Just that sound as well.
Yeah, it's just a big V8, isn't it? Of the cars I've got, this is, I would say, easily the slowest.
Yeah.
It's probably the coolest, and certainly the first. It's 430 cubic inch American money.
Yeah.
Which equates to 7.2 litres. You know, if you put that sort of horsepower into, you know, an MX-5 or something like that, it'd be like a rocket ship.
I mean, the presence this thing has on the road is unreal. Like, obviously you're 17.5 feet long.
People don't miss you. The amount of times you just get people coming up next to you, taking pictures, taking movies. It's great. It's a smile on people's face. Also, local Glasgow band used it recently in a music video.
Oh, okay.
When it had bigger wheels on it.
Yep.
Like sort of blingy 22-inch ones. Unfortunately, if you don't like the music, you're going to have to watch right to the end.
Yeah.
Because the money shot is right at the end. By money shot, if you're into the car.
How did you come to acquire this then?
There's a hot rod shop in Lampasas in Texas. A friend of mine knows the owner, and this was a show winning car back in the day in Texas. As we mentioned earlier, the owner's wife caught him cheating, so she vandalised the car, she slashed all the interior, scraped all the paintwork, gouged FU into the bonnet. So it sat outside this hot rod shop for a long time until the price came down to somewhere that I was comfortable with, which was just as well, because it turns out I've had to do a top end engine rebuild on it.
Yep.
And then the last thing was getting the paint done. It's a big job, obviously paint this amount of real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else's loss was my gain, fortunately. Interestingly though, turns out when I got the car, the title was in the wife's name, so she just vandalised her own car.
What's it like in fuel?
Horrific. It is the favoured question of everyone who doesn't have an American car that asks you when you've got an American car. Or rather, they'll tell you. But that doesn't pass many petrol stations. You just kind of have to take the view that it's part and parcel of owning one of these things. I don't use it to commute every day. You put fuel in it, you go out, you enjoy that fuel, you have fun for however few miles it does.
Yep.
There's no road tax, insurance is really cheap, I don't need to MOT it, so all that kind of subsidises the fuel costs. I have some other American cars that on the motorway when you're cruising along, they're a lot better than they are around about town, but this one, no, this one is just horrific at all times.
Yeah. Obviously we know that it's going to star in the Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
What else has it been in?
It's also been in Outlander.
Oh, right.
It was one of the cars at the 1970 or 1972 South Carolina Highland Games. But you don't really see it, it's in the background. It's not why I have it. It's quite nice that it kind of contributes to the fuel costs.
The thing is as well is like, it is such a comfortable ride.
It's quite different, isn't it? You know, you've got all this noise and drama and stuff going on, but really it's quite serene.
It is.
To drive along. I mean, we're sitting just under 70 just now. One thing I would say, if we were doing 70 and I had the 22-inch wheels on,
Yeah.
I think my butt cheeks would be pretty clenched at the moment.
Have you got anything else lined up, any other cars that you're looking at?
I don't have anything American lined up at the moment, no, but you just never know when something's come up. I should say, and I hope my wife doesn't see this, is that I've got another truck coming. It's on the water just now.
Oh wow.
A 1970 Chevy C10 with a big block in it. My wife doesn't know that yet.
Surprise.
So I never really think of trucks as being forever cars.
Yeah.
This is a forever car. You know, I won't be selling this ever.
You know that JFK was assassinated
In a 64, the same as this. Yeah, he was assassinated in November 63, but the 64 models come out in October 63, so it was this actual model JFK was shot as. Kind of makes you think a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. What are spare parts like?
Spare parts normally for American cars are really easy to get. There's a lot of specialist places to do them. You know, there's a lot of online retailers, and you can even get things sent off from the States in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Lincoln are a little bit different. They're really precious about people making pattern copies of their parts.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to get Lincoln parts. Fortunately, you know, they are pretty reliable. You know, the cars, they're never stressed. You're not razzed about the place.
Yeah.
The one thing I've still to do to this, the only thing I've still to do to this, is redo things like the window seals. And unlike most American cars, the prices of these things will make my eyes bleed. There is an argument if you buy
Cheap, you buy it twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anything else lined up for this car apart from obviously bits and various different bits that you
Well,
mentioned?
yeah, apparently Indiana Jones is going down at the end of next month, so I'll be back on that.
You run a wedding car business as well, don't you?
Yes, I suppose the short answer is yes, I do. It's a kind of part-time thing that's just grown out of people asking for the cars. So we're on Facebook, and if people ask, cars are registered with a couple of agencies. The idea was more to do with grooms transport, which seems to be a kind of upcoming thing.
Yeah.
You know, the brides have always got their nice cars. Grooms are getting in the act now, turning up in a muscle car or something like this. I know I said that I wasn't going to do much else to it. I'm thinking about putting a bigger carburetor on it. I think the spring in the existing carburetor is far too strong.
Okay.
You really do have to push your foot down the throttle on this one. To be honest, I've never tried to do any sort of quarter-mile time or anything at all like that.
That sound is so nice.
Yes, that's thanks to Simon's custom exhaust in East Kilbride.
There you go.
He put the exhaust on. He's also done the exhaust on my Mustang.
What fuel? Obviously it's petrol, of course, but do you need to put 99 in it?
No, interesting. I did visit the salt flats a few years back, and they were selling 99 octane for $10 a gallon, which is more than it costs here. So fuel isn't always cheap in America. Let's put it that way. The big test is going to be the move to E10.
Yes.
What that's going to do, not so much for the running of the car, but more for the hoses and the seals and so on. It's a big unknown at the minute. From what I hear, the biggest issue is if you leave fuel in the car.
Obviously you brought it back from America. Was there a lot of restoration involved?
More than I expected.
Yeah.
I should have got a hint though when I lost an airbag on the way home from the docks. Bodywork wise, it was fine. The paint was faded, the paint was obviously damaged by the previous owner's wife.
Yeah.
But there's been no rot in the car, recovering it inside, which I have to say I'm really pleased with. There are some things that I would like to do, you know, things like these switch panels down here.
Yeah.
But the price of them, it's actually incomprehensible how much money they want for one of those. Yeah, I mean, one of those, you're well into four figures just for that.
Yeah. So I know that this is on your right, and obviously you've got the control unit, seen you use it earlier.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that.
I got the car, it was an older system that was on it.
Yeah.
Sort of analog system that had a couple of dials. I would just watch the dials front and back. At that point the car had one tank and two compressors. I've upgraded that now to an ECU control system. That means that I can now have each bag at all different levels. I can have presets. We now have two tanks in the back, three compressors, the digital controller that you saw earlier. The police think I've got a mobile phone in my hand. I can have a sort of custom set and I can have a drive set. Yeah. One thing still to be done with the air ride is with the way Ford works, the shock absorbers tend to run inside the springs in a standard suspension setup.
Okay.
When you take the springs away to put the bags in, you have to do away with the shock absorbers. This car is running at the moment with no shock absorbers in the front. I'm in the process of ordering an air ride, what are called shock waves, and it's basically shock absorbers that run through the middle of an airbag, and that saves refabricating mounts and so on. It means it can just use existing suspension mounts. Let's face it, that's why you get air ride, because it's just cool.
Yeah. You must get asked all the time for photos.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. In fact, a lot of people don't ask, and I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with it.
Scott, thank you so much for the drive, and thank you so much for showing us this beautiful 1964 Lincoln Continental. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the channel, and hopefully we'll have some more
Yeah,
from you soon.
Yeah, come back soon, definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.